There, I think we have sound. Sorry for this delay. Some technical issues with the streaming, it seems, but I think we are good to go, and then let's see what happens with that. Welcome to this session. Thank you so much for being here. We allowed ourselves to call this session Ocean 10, Treasures and Forecasts. The name of the session is, of course, inspired by, although I hear there's a fish restaurant, seafood restaurant here in Brussels called Ocean's 11, but this is inspired more by the film series, starting with the classic Ocean's 11, and all the sequel after that. There's no Ocean 10, but now there will be. So we'll try to have a very intriguing plot for you and some plot twists along the way to keep you engaged. The Ocean's 11 series is, they're all films that follow the same winning formula, strategic heists led by memorable characters with unique skills. So we use much of the same approach here. We have invited an exclusive group of memorable speakers with all their unique skills. But we are not planning a heist, so relax. Rather, we want to just kick off the strategic planning towards the 10th European Framework Program. Specifically, how can we make sure that the ocean, seas, and inland waters continue to be a source of value for the European population rather than the victim, you could say, of a heist in the form of over-exploitation, pollution, and biodiversity degradation. We are approaching the midway point of the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Some of us were also in Barcelona last week to gather with the whole sort of global ocean community and see where we are with that. We are also approaching the midway point of the UN of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, and we are definitely not, as recent reports clearly show, en route to reach the high ambitions of this program. In September 2021, Mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters by 2030 was launched with an equally ambitious agenda, followed by the launch of the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership in January last year. On the threshold now is also a long-awaited call for an EIT knowledge and innovation community in the water, marine, and maritime domains. This parallel session takes a deep dive into the possibilities and obstacles ahead when it comes to achieving the goals of these programs, achieving the goals of restoration and sustainable harvesting of the European waters and sea basins. Some questions to be explored. What are the lessons from the first phase of mission-oriented research and innovation for the large and complex hydrosphere? Are we managing to restore our oceans and waters by 2030? Can the complex setup of the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership carry the burden of transforming a largely unsustainable ocean economy through research and innovation? And finally, how can an EIT kick for the water, marine and maritime sectors and ecosystems support this transformation and help create ocean professionals that we need for the future? So please sit back and enjoy the show, but do not become too relaxed, because I will soon invite you to take part as supporting characters in our plots, unless, of course, you prefer to just remain extras. It's up to you, but first of all, I'm very, very happy to introduce the first keynote speaker. Silvia Nemeth is Deputy Head of the Healthy Oceans and Seas Unit at the DJA Research and Innovation. And she will speak to us about the status of the Horizon Europe agenda for European ocean, seas and waters, in particular, Mission Restore Our Oceans and Waters by 2030. Please, Silvia.
I need to sometimes look in my notes. And I broke my glass in the European Parliament yesterday. So good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here with you today and to provide you with a keynote speech. I'm not going to use slides. Some of the people who know me know that I have the feeling that when I'm using slides, people are not really listening to what I'm saying. So this is my feeble attempt for you to follow what I'm saying. What I was asked to speak about today is the status of the Horizon Europe agenda and where we are standing. I mean, firstly, I'm very happy to announce that the unit, where I'm deputy head of unit, has been enriched by the water sector. So now we are called Healthy Ocean, Seas and Waters, which of course also shows one of the things that is expected from us in the future and also in the FP10 process, and that is the integration of, well, I think our French colleagues would call it the hydrosphere, and really thinking of an approach that brings together also water research. This is of course very close to the heart of the foreseen and proposed knowledge innovation community, the KIC WWM as we call it, and which is currently under assessment, and pending on the possible positive assessment would be starting next year and would be kicking in 26. So where are we standing? What I find is that the two Horizon programs have been a remarkable change compared to the framework programs. They are still called framework programs, but the Horizon spirit shows that we are really trying to make a very important change at European level in terms of how we are looking at research and innovation funding. In Horizon Europe, I think we have taken a step forward and put the stakes much higher with launching, in particular, the mission Restore Our Ocean and Waters. It was a very long process, but what we see now is that actually the missions, all of them, and also including the Ocean and Waters mission, are really on their way. And the assessment that was conducted last year also shows that the missions start to deliver on their purposes. The objectives of the ocean mission, of course, or Ocean and Waters mission, are very broad. So one of the issues that we faced, of course, is that we had to build up a whole process on focus and priority. And this has been something that we did throughout also the work programs that were supporting the mission. And I'm happy to announce that yesterday the work program 2024 of the mission has been announced with 127 million euros of funding and opportunities for funding foreseen. And basically about 120 million euros per year have been allocated to the ocean mission. We also have the general work program that we have a lot of fun with, the Cluster 6 general work program. And we also have, of course, and we are following very closely and trying to ensure synergies with different partnerships that are relevant for this area. The Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership was mentioned with the, I would say, whopping budget of 450 million euros, and showing also the effort that the member states are putting in this enterprise, and we are very happy about it. There is also the Water for All partnership with 33 countries participating, slightly smaller budget, but also very important in terms of structuring our efforts on water research. And of course, some of the joint undertakings are very close to the business, the everyday business that we are doing. I would mention in particular the circular bio-based joint undertaking, and also the zero emission partnership and work that is ongoing. So one of the key challenges that we had in Horizon Europe, and I think we are doing quite well, is to ensure synergies and coherence among these instruments that are all serving different purposes, while at the same time trying to aim to advance the agenda that the unit where I'm sitting is responsible for. In particular, around the ocean mission, we started basically with creating also the structure, which was also linked to creating the so-called lighthouses, which are communities structured around the different sea basins. And one of them is also linked to the Danube River, so showing the importance of how pollution, of course, of rivers and lakes and freshwater is impacting the ocean, and we gain, of course, a lot more consciousness on this. So the lighthouses have been set up, and now they are functioning as a site to pilot, demonstrate, develop, and deploy certain activities. And some of them, I mean, all of them are concentrated on different objectives of the mission. For example, the Mediterranean Lighthouse is concentrated on the pollution subject. This doesn't mean that we are not doing and cross-fertilizing all these ideas across the different bases. I think it is very important to say this. When started building the communities, one of the things we saw was that it is very important also to get actors together who may not necessarily know each other. And one of the excellent tools for this was the launch of the Mission Charter. I'm happy to say that we have around more than 500 actions that were pledged for the Mission Charter with 4.5 billion euros. Adhering to the Mission Charter doesn't mean that it has to be a kind of financial commitment per se, but how I say this is that the activities of entities that feel belonging to the objectives of the mission can be showcased, and they can become part of a community that is underforming. And there is, of course, a map where you can find that, hang on, these people are working on the same thing that I'm working on. Maybe my network doesn't know about it. It would be important to connect with them. What we are also seeing now is that this mobilization worked out very well. And now we are really ready to go to the phase of deploying some of the solutions, and also really to take stock of some of the ongoing projects that were started in the first work programs and that we are trying to roll out now. I mean, the current work program of the mission is mainly focused on building further, for example, the blue park communities. That is very important in relation to the MPA work that we are doing on restoring, for example, freshwater habitats of migratory species. So a lot of very interesting stuff ongoing. And of course, as I said, we try to ensure synergies with all the other work that we are doing and trying to deliver on all of the objectives. In relation to the mission, another work that I think is quite remarkable and unique, and I really want to pause here, quite remarkable and unique, is the building of the digital twin of the ocean. The European DTO, that is conceived as a public service and which would function as a public service in the future, not only shows the kind of decadal thinking that the mission puts forward, but it also shows what kind of resources we have in Europe, Copernicus program, EBODNet, that we can bring to another level if we are looking at them and using them in a structured way. And I'm very happy to say that the first prototype of the European digital twin of the ocean is going to be announced and unveiled on the 13th of June in Brussels in the Digital Ocean Forum. I'm sure that some of the people who follow this work are really looking forward to this. What I also wanted to mention in relation to the mission is that we are really trying to help the communities that came together to build transition agendas forward, because some of the things we are expecting here are very, very complex. And we are trying to support the creation of these transition agendas also through the mission work programs. But I also want to mention that we launched the mission implementation platform that is there also to provide services to the communities about their activities. And it has also a very important blue park-related component. And I think those who signed the charter and those who are part of these communities are going to receive really remarkable services and access to information. And I think, you know, we have done an enormous progress on the mission charter. We have done an enormous progress on bringing the communities together, but we are not there yet. We still need to increase the geographical coverage. So one of the things that I would ask from everyone who is working around the mission is to reach out also to unknown communities and also try to link up with partners who are interested in the purposes of the mission. I also wanted to mention that, of course, we are trying to look at the networks that we have at international level. And Siri mentioned the Barcelona conference last week, where actually DG Research and Innovation announced a common roadmap with IOC, which shows the programmatic level of contribution that the European programs are doing to the UN decade. I really encourage everyone to look at this. It is a very interesting roadmap with several activities foreseen. And of course, they are also linked to the mission, but they are also linked to some of the other things that we are doing. So, for example, in the Atlantic Sea Basin, we have been working for more than 10 years on the so-called All-Atlantic Ocean Research and Innovation Alliance. This work started in 2013 with the Galway Statement with the Northern Hemisphere. Then it was enlarged to the Southern Hemisphere to the Belém Statement. And since 2022, we have this open alliance. Last year, Norway joined. We were very pleased to see that. And also the UK. And now we also have Iceland joining. So it's a growing community. And one of the things that we are trying to do, because here the EU is leading on the so-called coastal resilience related agenda, we are also trying to link the mission communities and the mission related work and results to this international work and do a kind of game changing also at the Atlantic level. So in relation to the international work, I also wanted to mention this. I will look into my notes so that I don't forget anything that I wanted to mention. Yes, last thing is that we are in the process of programming the last work programs of Horizon Europe, a very important process. And of course, we start also our own thinking about FP10 and how it would look like, what are the lessons learned, and any input to this process, while the kind of official consultations haven't started yet, but I think any input to this process is very, very important. And of course, we are also looking at how we are looking at the communities and the different networks of universities, and their role in spreading excellence. I was listening to the last speaker yesterday in the reception, who spoke a lot about excellence, of course. And I really suggest that we try to use all these remarkable instruments that we have together, and that we are trying to make a difference at European level and really contribute to the European Green Deal from our blue angle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silvia, for this great overview over what is happening in the ocean field. It's a lot. We'll go a little bit more targeted with our next keynote. Very happy to introduce Margherita Cappelletto from the Italian Ministry of University and Research and coordinator for the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership. And she will speak to us about transforming the blue economy sector. Please, Margherita.
Thank you very much, Siri. If you don't mind, I would sit also to turn the slide. And complementary, because we acting always in complementary to Silvia, I would have slide with not a lot of text, and I would a little bit read my notes. So, I can turn the slide, is it okay? Yes, okay. No, it's okay. Yes. Thank you. So, thank you, Siri, for the introduction. It is correct. My name is Margherita Cappelletto from the Italian Ministries of Universities and Research, coordinating the Sustainable Blue Economy Partnership, which aims to boost the transformation towards a climate-neutral, sustainable and productive blue economy by 2030, contributing to the European strategies of the Green Deal and digital transformation, as well as the autonomy of the Union. It targets the following objectives: making the blue component of the transition to a green, digital and climate-neutral Europe operational by 2030, advancing sustainability and resilience of blue economy sectors, developing innovative governance framework, enabling research and innovation cooperation in the blue economy in Europe and beyond. To address such an ambitious vision, at first 60 partners from 25 countries, but now 29 countries, counting for 74 organizations, have decided to pool, together with the European Commission, 450 million euros over 7 years for developing joint transnational calls for research and innovation, as well important, some additional activities that will contribute to further strengthen the European research area. Why it is so relevant for having in place such a sustainable blue economy partnership? The EU Blue Economy report comes for help, helping in answering. Okay, we are waiting for the next to be published in May 2024. But that will perhaps have a look of what has happened after the pandemic. But let's stick to the last data we have. Europe's blue economy generates around 650 billions in total turnover and 176 billion euros in gross added value, providing 4.5 million direct jobs, mainly in regions where there are limited alternatives. OECD estimates a global doubling of value added generated by ocean-based industry from $1.5 trillion to $3 trillion between 2010 and 2030. However, the associated cost of climate change and cumulative anthropogenic impacts to the marine blue economy could be substantial, and these can also result in loss of marine biodiversity with severe impacts on sectors such as fisheries, aquaculture, coastal infrastructure and communities, tourism, recreation, shipping and transportation. Integrated solutions are needed, and this is what we are expecting from our first 19 co-funded projects that are about to start, looking into solution in response to our first joint call on the way forward, a thriving, sustainable blue economy for a brighter future, that targeted the following priority areas: the digital twin of the ocean, test use cases at EU sea basin scale, and here you have the complementarities with the mission Digital Twin of the Ocean, of course, sea basin and the Atlantic Ocean, the development of offshore marine multi-use infrastructure, planning and managing sea uses, climate neutral, environmental, sustainable and resource efficient blue food and feed, green transition of blue food production. More will come when the project will address the second joint call just closed, entitled Unified Path to a Climate Neutral, Sustainable and Resilient Blue Economy, Engaging Civil Society, Academia, Policy and Industry. And here you see that we are clearly targeting the 4-helix approach, with the fifth dimension being the environment. And the numbers are promising. 113 pre-proposals were received and are now under evaluation. As you can see in this slide, a focus on the resilience of coastal communities and business will be put in 2025, and experts are at work to ensure that this is duly addressed in the next call. But delivering one call per year does not exhaust the scope of the partnership. Due impact of the action is to be ensured by taking care of the solution to be produced all along the innovation chain, preparing the ground from the very beginning by ensuring the market upscale of the results. Moreover, innovation has to be unlocked through other powerful instruments for cooperation on different typology of activities. Sharing research infrastructure can support international cooperation, among other things, through stimulating investment over assets different from in cash. Aligning project can support the defragmentation of a crowded landscape and generate EU added value. Not to speak about the need of developing operational portfolio of projects, including those funded with the mission, but in general by Horizon Europe and other programs. Also following what Silvia was saying about the reinforcements of synergy across different European programs. Often called the blue arm of the Green Deal, the partnership uses to act within a fast-changing scenario to which it needs to react with flexibility. Therefore, the first strategic research and innovation agenda is at present under revision. Key challenges that are now at stake, such as energy provision, we heard this morning, and I'm pretty much in line. It's often forgotten, but we will soon have also a demographic issue, an unbalanced demographic issue between the old population in Northern Europe and young population in Southern Europe, let's say North Africa. The priority we had a few years ago in 2021, when the first release of the agenda was published, changed. They changed. So now, with the 3 pillars and a bunch of enablers, framing more than about 20 priority objectives, the strengthening of the strategic agenda is that it promised to react to the scenario, thus fitting better the transformation that we need, but building on the legacy and the development of what is happening at the regional level, meaning the sea basin, the Atlantic Ocean. They have done a lot in the past year for developing their blue economy strategies. We heard about the All Atlantic, but it is in a good company with what our colleagues in the Black Sea have done, the Banos, the Blue Med, and of course these priorities that emphasize the regional specificities align with member state, associated country, and the European Commission. Is it thanks to a network of enthusiasts and proactive contact nodes across the sea basin that we manage to keep these regional specificities high in our agenda? Together with the liaising activities that our Brussels cellule is taking care with European and international organizations, we managed to interconnect the national, regional, European, and global dimension. As I said yesterday, what we can offer, we are quite a young initiative, but for sure we can offer a high degree of connectivity, or at least a solid methodology of how this connectivity could be performed. Recognizing the importance of synergies, as Silvia mentioned, the partnership has also established dialogue and operational activities with other European partnerships and the Mission Ocean, to which objective it contributes. It is not by chance that this is my last slide to conclude and projecting the partnership and all of us into FP10. It is not by chance that this slide is on synergies. We do not have to forget there is another important synergies to mention, that it is the one of funding streams, different funding streams. But this is another story to tackle perhaps next time. The partnership is duly fulfilling its mandate to connect, because it recognizes that the blue economy is too vast to be tackled alone. if at the same time the potential is very high. If a single country cannot obviously address it alone, we believe that not even a single initiative. The reason is simple. If we look at the 5 components of the society, academia, government, industry, and civil society, embedded into the environment and the ecosystems. So working towards FP10, it will be important to promote a change of the operational approach that I would summarize in 3 steps: thinking, or better, co-thinking or co-designing; deciding, jointly deciding. I think this is the joint decision is one of the major strengths of the partnership, but then acting, or better, co-acting. To do so, tools for implementing joint actions need to be conceived so that they operationally match the ambition of the blue economy community. Memoranda of cooperation, portfolio of projects, mobilization of national programs and projects, sharing of research infrastructure, support mechanism for market uptake of project results are incredibly powerful tools to further structure the European research area and ensure the impact that the co-funded projects only will not be able to release. Perhaps the overall framework that is needed to manage such a complex structure has also to be renewed. In conclusion, all the ingredients to provide solution for decarbonizing the blue economy are there. Good chefs ready to mix them and are also available. We have here the chair of the General Assembly of our consortium, Katrin Angel-Hansen from RCN Norway. But the baking should be improved, the oven being the instrument even readjusted if needed. So that this coalition, where we are open also to act together with upcoming initiative and actors, can meet the ambition. Thank you.
Just stay there, Margherita. Thank you. Maybe Silvia, can you also come up? Because I think we should start now. Thank you so much for this overview that focuses also on complementarities, synergies, and potential also maybe overlaps. I want to start before we go into the panel to ask if anyone in the audience have questions for the keynotes. We have one behind there. You will get your chance, Nuno. Do we have another microphone in the room, or is this the only one? Sure. Are we streaming or not? No? Yeah, we're streaming. So then we should have the microphone.
To Margherita, Leonardo Piccinini's site. I think this is an interesting exercise has been done in a sustainable blue partnership in terms of the role of the regions. You know, in Italy, Emilia-Romagna is the first region that's been done to put budget for the sustainable blue partnership. How do you can work on future collaboration? Because it was mentioned today also the role of the regions from the General Assembly. This is interesting, particularly the collaboration with the synergies with the other funding mechanism. In particular, smart specialization strategy in blue economy will be extremely relevant. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question and for recalling us that, yes, we succeeded in engaging the first region participating, contributing to the partnership through structural fund, thus implementing what is now in the regulation of Horizon Europe, the possibility that the structural fund and funds for the partnership act in synergy, really by rules. Of course, Emilia-Romagna region was pioneering. We can do better. I think that we really need to knock at the door of regions and their network, the committee, or through organizations such as the Conference of Maritime Peripheral Regions to engage more and more. Not only at the very end when it is time to join the cause and participate, but in the co-design process, because it's there that perhaps still our strategy see some weaknesses. Now we hope that through this first case we will manage to enrich a little bit the strategy according to the needs of the region, because they represent the local community, and it's there that we want to impact. But there is much that can be done, and in particular, yes, I agree. The connection with the smart specialization strategy is possible, but we have to recall that it's the community that needs to ensure that the strategy, what is spelled out in the smart specialization strategy, is aligned. So we need to fix a common starting point in order to have the implementation, to make the implementation possible.
Yes, the more inclusive, the more complex, of course. I see that our panelists are eager to join this discussion. I think we will invite them to up here, and but keep your questions, and you will get the chance to post them. But I'm very happy now to welcome our panelists. First of all, Nuno Lourenco, President of the Board of the Atlantic CoLab, and Director of the Ocean Unit at the Center for Engineering and Product Development at the University of Algarve. Please take a seat. Then we have also with us Jan Stefan Fritz, who's Managing Director of the German Marine Research Consortium, the KDM. Please have a seat. And finally, Björn Egil Asbjørnslett, with a little bit weird spelling up here, but anyway, it's always a challenge to spell your name. Director of NTNU Ocean and Coast. First of all, I'm going to start by asking the three newcomers up here the following question. In light of the keynote presentations that you just heard, but maybe also considering this morning's presentations, do you think that we are on the right course to reach the high ambitions for European oceans and waters in the Horizon Europe program? And if so, why? And if not, why not? What's the problem? Maybe start with you, Nuno.
Okay. Well, do you hear me? I probably don't need the microphone. I'm not screaming. Huh?
No screaming,
Okay.
Let us know if you think we should listen.
Go ahead. Well, thank you for the invitation to be here. It's a pleasure to participate. If we are getting there, I mean, there's a lot of dimensions of what we have there, because the instruments are fantastic. We approach new different stakeholders and to create synergies with regions, in countries beyond Europe, but at the same time, to set it all and to set more integration in all the countries. And I feel that many things are working very fine, many things are new, so we need to learn from them, and many things probably can be improved in the future. The problem we have at hand is huge, especially when we address the Atlantic, or if we address the different regional seas. There are a lot of issues, and probably there are, to a certain extent, an issue which is not related just specifically with these programs, is linked with governance, ocean governance, which is much bigger and complex than what we can attack with the different projects and mechanisms and instruments that we are creating. Even so, they have a lot of merits. For instance, in the missions, and we were debating this recently in Lisbon, there are a lot of good activities, a lot of dynamic, a lot of bottom-up dynamic, actors which wouldn't speak before, now they are speaking with each other. But I feel, and I don't want to be politically incorrect, that probably some top-down steering also is needed. Because if it's too bottom-up, probably we go directly to a lot of fragmentation and be less effective on the answers or results that we want to achieve for the different problems we have at hand. Even so, I'm all for the mechanisms for the Blue Partnership and also for the missions, the platform, the pledges, and the lighthouses. Lighthouses for the Atlantic and the Arctic is been crazy. I know people which are engaged on those, but my question is it effective, or we are being too crazy because we are being very enthusiastic? and I don't have the answer for that still.
Yeah, thank you, Siri, and thank you for the invitation. What's positive from the speakers this morning? First of all, the focus on talent. I think it's very important, because if we want to have attention towards ocean and waters, we need capacity and capability, and that is talent. We see it every day at the university. We need to recruit students. We need to recruit new type of students into the hydrosphere, and then we need to open up for them both the challenges but also the opportunities and how they can contribute to this. So that is very important, and it's really nice to see how the different programs put that up front. Then, as you say about lighthouses, I think the mechanism of a good lighthouse or a good practical case that have an ambition and objective is important. Whether they all are as perfect as they can be, whether they are easy to understand and see, can be discussed, but that is important. And then we are into infrastructure. How can we open up the use of the ocean and waters infrastructure in Europe so that we can share the resources? That is also important, because in the end we want to have impact. And to have impact, we need talents that see challenges, see opportunities, that are given mechanisms and tools to work with, for instance, infrastructure, to be able to bring forward impact. And then we need measures to bring those into society. So I made a lot of more notes, but yeah, I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation and for the presentations, and also last night and this morning, the plenary presentations. I think this is an important time. This is an important discussion, the future of water and oceans. And actually, it's great to hear that that's been included in your unit, because it is true, we do need to think much more integratively when it comes to the hydrosphere. Okay, so perhaps to answer your question from two different perspectives. The first perspective would be on expectations. So I think we do have to be realistic, and we do have to be clear about what's expected of science and innovation today. The first thing is, traditionally, back in olden times, you know, the marine science community in particular was all about discovery. It was exciting. Take a ship, take a boat, swim, discover new things, explore a part of the planet that even today, most of us can't actually ever reach. And so the marine science community in particular, less so the water, but the marine science community has had a very privileged tradition. But on top of that came then economic development expectations, so political economic developments. We had increase in shipping, resource extraction, you name it. It's happened in the ocean. We also now have climate and weather and human impacts, and so we've moved from discovering the oceans, exploring them, to describing them much more systematically, with all the expectations that come from that, from collecting data, from building the infrastructures, and so on and so forth. Then came a generation of advice, IPCC and the like, of sort of, you know, the science needs to be brought to policy and to society, and we need to make science work, but in the form of advice. You know, but science advice is great. It's nice to have. A lot of people say, meh, but I'll still live my life the way I want to. So most recently, we now have a new generation of activities, including the mission and the Blue Economy Partnership, and many others that say, okay, well, advice is nice, exploration is exciting, and describing is very, very important, but we now need to act. And we need to actually make a difference on the ground, and all that taxpayers' money that's being given to universities and research institutions, we need to make it work for society in a very unequivocal, direct sort of way. So I think the expectations on the water and marine communities are growing, and we shouldn't underestimate that. So now, coming at this same challenge from a different perspective, is it a linear relationship? Often, we also in Germany have had a big discussion on transfer, so transferring from science to companies, to society, and whatever. But that's a very linear relationship. And so I don't want to beat this analogy. I don't want to compete with analogies. We've had film analogies, we've had cooking analogies, but I'll take a medical analogy. So because I was trying to think, how do you put this in 1 minute or less? So hospitals. If we look at what happens in the medical sphere, we have actually created institutions which, remember, many of which, especially the best ones, are university hospitals. They are actually located and managed by universities. There are spheres, now forget the concrete and the steel and the glass, but those are spaces where academics meet, where citizens meet, where companies meet, where governments meet. There are spaces where we teach, where we experiment, where we treat issues, we build infrastructures, we build instruments, and at the end of the day, they deliver value, but they also have to bring a return on investment from a variety of perspectives for society, but also financially to be viable. So I think what we need to create, and what we haven't really done, is we're still at the space where we are funding many projects, and they're extremely valuable, and they're not to be underestimated. And especially at the EU, I know John Bell has said once or twice that he feels a bit unloved or sort of by the community. He did. He said, which I understand, because the expectations are there, and we voice the expectations, and they are real, and they should be voiced. But what we should create together, and this is where the mission comes in, where the Blue Economy Partnership, but also the kick in the future, we hope, is we need to build spaces where we can interact on a daily basis, where everybody goes about their business, which they are paid to do, but also that's where their passion is, their expertise is, and we come together and we work together, but we do it as part of a community to deliver services, and we create institutions that are light to the touch maybe, but that work and that enable the exploration, the description, the advice, and all the rest of it, and the action. So.
Thank you very much. We have a number of good analogies, but I think it's an interesting one because also it fits well with your unit, Silvia. With there's a letter missing from your name as well, as you know.
Yes, it's Hungarian, Silvia.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of spelling here. Anyway, the title of your unit with the emphasis on healthy, right? So, do you want to comment on the panel's reflections?
Thank you. I was taking notes while my excellent colleagues were speaking because, of course, it's also very inspiring and it's a good feedback. And I took note of several things. One of the things that comes to my mind is that we have, of course, I spoke a lot about instruments. And then I think Margherita also spoke a lot about, synergies on the ground among programs. And I think this is something that we will have to do better if we want to make a difference. We need to create synergies among programs at European level, at national level, at regional level, and let's make use of what we have. This is one thing that came to my mind. Secondly, what came to my mind that it is at the same time very important to ensure continuity of excellence and results. And I think the framework program has been quite good at that. I mean, this morning I was in a meeting, opening a meeting of a polar research infrastructure General Assembly, because in our unit we are also dealing with polar and Arctic research. And it was very interesting to see how the different projects that were financed by the different framework programs are building up a whole new reality where actually Europe is a world leader, not only in funding, but I must say when I'm conducting international negotiations, even very, very developed countries are learning from us. And we should be true to this reality and ensure this continuity. The third thing that came to my mind is that when I was working in agriculture a long time ago, they have something throughout Europe which I don't think exists to that extent in the marine space, which is the extension services. And these existing extension services made a difference when the so-called European Innovation Partnership on Agriculture, the EIP Agri, was created, and how it was taken up. And this is actually an answer to you, Nuno, because the issue is that we are trying to create networks throughout Europe that are not existing because of the traditional realities. And we need a lot of bottom-up, but we also, as you say, need the top-down, because otherwise the different results, the different practices, the excellence that is existing, I don't know, in Finland, and that needs to be taken up in Spain, very, weird example, but we are not always able to do this. And actually, I think the charter and the pledging around this helped us to realize this reality. And the last thing, we are living in a different Europe. We are, to bring forward the excellent thoughts of Stefan around from discovery to, make a difference on the ground. I would add one more layer, to make difference on the ground in the whole of Europe. I mean, you should see the discussions that are ongoing in the Council, and we will also have to respond to some of these.
Thank you. From the words of the panelists, I would take the keywords of talents and recruitment from one side and open up infrastructure, because I think that it's here that the complementarity of the upcoming KIC is really, really needed. I think this is a message for the community. If you saw the long list of enablers in our strategic agenda, I mean, we cannot address all of them, and education, human resources was very high, as well as infrastructure, as it was recalled today, and also as in the new S3 strategy, the technology infrastructure will become also at the core of the activities. So from one side, I take this input as a point for reflection in developing the KIC, where the difference can be made on some realm in an integrated education, even as a sort of core attractor of many other partnerships. I mentioned yesterday, and today I'm recalling, we work, we are not alone. There is a Water for All partnership, there is a zero emission waterborne transport partnership to really connect with. Coming to this input of the enthusiasm of the community and the relationship between a bottom-up and top-down approach and the regions, I want to bring an experience. I was in Barcelona at the UN Decade Conference, and the Mediterranean Lighthouse, the Blue Mission Med, CSA, organized a workshop, and I was surprised to see a municipality from Burgas in Bulgaria and another one speaking from the Atlantic, and I was, what is this? And they are really trying to cross-fertilize what they are doing, and it proved very, very efficient. And again, I saw there a complementarity to us, because they are speaking pretty much towards the communities, the local communities, the citizens. The KIC can speak much more, as you say, efficiently to the education system. And together with us, this, I think, will contribute to build the hospital, provided that we keep the hospital accessible for citizens. That's important.
Thank you very much. So thank you also for bringing, taking us over to what's really next on what we wanted to discuss here. Because and I'm going back to you, Stefan, now that working for the German Marine Research Consortium here from Brussels, you have been among those many people who have been active in promoting an EIT call for a knowledge and innovation community for the marine area specifically, a call which now seems to finally be on its way out, adding, of course, again, complexity with the inland waters and so on. How do you think an ocean and water KIC can contribute to the European research and innovation agenda? Do you agree with Margherita in her analysis?
Yes. So the first thing is absolute agreement, and I think, you know, one can't exist without the other. So the partnership, mission, these kind of approaches are a precursor, or they're the context, they're the community context, because of course they are much broader, and bring together resources that individual activities, because even a KIC will be a single project, even if it is accessible. And I totally agree with the accessibility argument and the geographic accessibility argument. But still a KIC will be limited, right? I mean, ultimately the funding for a KIC amounts to about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, if it's lucky, of Horizon Europe funding in this field, going by the numbers that Silvia mentioned before, you know, as in terms of core funding. So we have to keep things in perspective, and it's smaller than the partnership. So is a KIC valuable? Yes, because of what I said before. We have many different kinds of programs and activities, but what we now need to do is we need to go back to the community which needs to deliver the kind of services and products that are expected of it, and we need to build the capacities in that community. But we need to do it in a way that is sustainable, financially sustainable, and sustainable in terms of personnel capacities. It needs to be an exciting place to work. It needs to build momentum, build communities. So I think that's why this hospital analogy, even though I don't want to belabor it, but I do think it is useful up to a point. We need to work in a cost-effective, commercial way, but it needs to deliver accessible services for citizens across Europe in a meaningful and concrete way. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that we do need to get away from the linear thinking, and we do need to be careful with the project approach to things, because it creates dependencies where you fund a project, and after 3 years or 4 years it's over, and the whole community is out running for new projects again, and they're always running after the ball, and it's kind of a cat and mouse game. Whereas what we do need to develop within our community, which hasn't existed so far, is that sense of it is vertically integrated, but it is also broadly integrated, right? Because other economic spheres have that. We don't. I mean, we're at such a level, Kestutis mentioned this last night, yesterday afternoon, we're in such a place where we don't even have, in many cases, the economic data about what is the return on investment in the blue economy sphere, right? I mean, the OECD is trying to publish reports, but a lot of their estimations, and I know because we actually used money from Horizon Europe to fund the OECD to do some of this work, they don't have the data, right? So it's a lot of work.
Thank you, Stefan. At a meeting here in Brussels in January that I accidentally also was at, you stated that you are working for a future Portuguese leadership in this ocean and waters KIC that is hopefully on the threshold. Why is this a priority from the Portuguese side?
I will need some time to answer that, because there are many reasons and many dimensions with many reasons on it. But before that, just a small comment on Stefan's. In Portugal, we have a satellite account on the national account for the weight of blue economy. This kind of strategy is fundamental to have the ROI numbers, to see the impact, and to take tourism, which is not the same thing of other sectors on the blue economy, and for us, tourism is heavy, and take it out and see really the numbers of the emerging sectors or the most potential ones. Why did I make that statement? Well, first of all, given the size of the challenge, probably because I'm crazy, okay? But taking that part out of the story, Portugal traditionally, not because of the discovery period, but has been politically very active on the maritime affairs in Europe and in the world, in the UN. And this is why Maria Graça de Carvalho, now Minister of the Environment, was a deputy to the European Parliament, and she, from 2014 or before that, you know the story, has always pushed for this kick. So we have a strong political backup now in the government and in the mayor's office, which is led by Carson, former commissioner. And why do we have this prevalence of why is the ocean so important to us? But you just have to look at the map. Our front yard is the Atlantic. Lisbon is the Atlantic capital of Europe. So when you take the marine part, you take an immense maritime space, an even bigger through the EZ, which is one of the biggest in Europe, an even bigger continental shelf under UNCLOS, the UN Law of the Sea, Article 76. We see that space with a space of opportunities and of responsibility. So you know that we have targeted 30% of that space to be under marine protected areas, full protection. This implies a lot of blue tech capacity because most of them is deep and ultra deep, okay? At the same time, it's an economic opportunity for bioprospection and for discovery under the space of blue biotech, okay? So it's very geodiverse and has a lot of potential. So this would be the geopolitical dimension, if you like. Adding to that, we have an advanced marine spatial planning policy in Portugal, which enables occupation, economic activity, occupation of the maritime space with private utilization licenses, which are fairly linear to get and not so expensive. So we want to boost blue economy. So that's one side of the story. On the water part, we face the same problems as the Southern Europe. So we have water scarcity, we have extreme drought on the south, we have sometimes flooded regions on the north. So we're a small country with this diverse situation. We are still not managing the technologies properly for recycling and reusing water. And so and we are facing more and more stream events. So we need, all of this falls into the scope of the EIT challenge for this kick, okay? We have on the marine side good environmental status under MSFD. On the inland water, still some problems that we have to tackle. So KIC would increase all these dimensions on the geopolitical and our situation. Education dimension. We are a widening country, but we have been increasing a lot our participation following FP7. We have strong universities with strong competencies on the marine and the water side. And we are becoming more and more users of Horizon Europe and other funds in Europe, but we still more on the fundamental sides of things and linking less to the open innovation companies. KIC would foster and you know, catalyze on opening more the universities on this direction. Another dimension, which is innovation. We are considered a moderate innovator country, but we have a capital which was awarded as Europe's innovation capital by the Commission. So it's a bit of a paradox. And it's true that the younger generations are much more entrepreneurial and have much more access to funds to bring their ideas forward. But there's still a lot of gaps to upscale. I was discussing that in the coffee break. It's fairly easy. All these innovation mechanisms are very prompt for digital, but when you have materiality, you need intensive capital, which normally is not there. So you have a gap between creating the idea, developing the prototype and demonstrating it, and bringing it to the market. That gap has to be tackled, and this KIC could be a very good solution for that. Just to finish off, we have a very strong connection with the RRP following the pandemic. So we have a lot of resources put in agendas for industrialization linked with the emerging sector is blue biotech. We have fairly large companies, mid-caps, which are willing to invest strongly, and we are creating a center which is very strong, will be a reference, hopefully, in Europe for biotech. And now comes the last one, and then I shut up, which is a psychosociological one, okay? And deals with the Portuguese culture and the EIT map. If you see the EIT map, and you see the distribution of the co-locations and headquarters, they start more or less, Monza in Barcelona, and go up north. So the extremes of Europe are a bit out of this map. Not all the way up. The second point is that we need to work better in Portugal as a community, to cooperate better, to integrate better, and to push out of our comfort zones and believe that we can, not in Obama style, but that we can really we are as good as the other Europeans, and this is a signal that we need to push on this kick. We are able to do this, we need to change the tide and put a point on the map. And that's it, thank you.
Just, yeah, over to Bjørn Egil, right? But I mean, also for us at NTNU, an ocean and water kick is something that we are looking at with anticipation and strategically targeting. We're working together with other stakeholders to position Norway towards this goal. What can we, small Norway or small, no, we're not. We have a long coastline, but yeah, but we are only a handful of people, more or less. So what can we actually bring to the table here?
Yeah, small country, but just has to say about Portugal, the ocean area of Norway is 6 times as large as the land area. We have the second largest, longest coastline in the world. That do something with the people that has developed Norway to become the country. All the way from the Vikings designing ships, building ships, exploring the world with them, all the way up today with the special vessel design, yards in Norway, state of the art. That is important also for NTNU. Since 1910, when the Norwegian Institute of Technology was the forerunner for NTNU, hydropower, water technology, ship technology was among the first study programs. So it's been with us all the time, all the way up to now. Ocean and coast is the 3rd strategic area within the ocean and waters context at NTNU. And then we come to something that is important by being small. If you're small, you need to collaborate. So we have learned to collaborate internally with external partners in Norway and beyond the national borders of Norway. And that way is the way it has to be and should be. If we look, for instance, into green shipping, for the last 8 years, together with the SINTEF group, we have had an innovation program in green shipping, where we have attracted the whole maritime cluster in Norway, more than 50 partners. We have gotten a new funding that we got last year for a new 8-year program starting next year with 50 plus partners and more waiting to come along. And the interaction between us as academic and research partner, the industry, the government side and more is so important. And also looking into aquaculture, we have for the last years worked on capacity building programs to bring new knowledge. We heard about how can we bring new enabling technology to those that are low-tech. Aquaculture is an industry that today are both low-tech and high-tech at the same time. But how can we lift the whole industry to really see the opportunities? And how can we build the capacity to youngsters that don't see themselves in aquaculture? And how can we build resilient and robust coastal societies that can take part in this? And then, what are we looking forward to in Trondheim in Norway? And that is the 28-29, when the Norwegian Ocean Technology Center will finally be ready. That will be state-of-the-art research infrastructure, on land, in the fjord, on the coastline, in the ocean. We are able to undertake all types of research within marine and maritime, and also water. And then I think, Siri, we should be open and we should invite, because then we really want to collaborate. Thank you.
Yes, it's the house. The house is too big for us when it comes to the Ocean Technology Center, so we need you all to come, come join us. So I was just given notice that the session ends at 12:30, so we have some ample time for you to engage here. Who has a burning question that they want to address to these guys? Yes. Do we have the other microphone to the gentleman there?
The issues has been raised regarding skill, value chain, and the sustainability, financial sustainability, is extremely important, not only for the KIC, but for any programs. Been working at Climate KIC since the beginning when I was in Emilia-Romagna. So my suggestion, don't make any mistake what we did in a Climate KIC, the financial sustainability aspect. This is extremely important, guys, that if you're working with the new skill agenda, what kind of agenda of skill we should improving? Not only the education, the research and innovation aspect, but this is extremely important to see the future because now technology is changing. I'm working in Water Europe, human capital activity. We are very focused on which are the future scenarios for the future skill. And this is important because we talk about AI, we talk about marketing, we talk about the young generation that we need to put this. So we have educational program, we have a research program, we have accessibility of research infrastructure, but we need to have this kind of sustainability approach in this level. I just made a comment on this because this is, from my point of view, the valuable panelists, they mention all these aspects in this. For me, this is extremely important, the value chain. The value chain will be extremely important for, I've been working in Emilia-Romagna, and I can tell you in Emilia-Romagna, one of the aspects what we did, it was the value chain.
Thank you very much for that input. I don't know, Jenny, do you want to comment?
Definitely, we are on the early stages of mounting this kick, but things have already arose in the group. One of them is learning from mistakes. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes, and so seeing bottlenecks, seeing what the problems were on the other existing kicks, the goods and bads, although they are thematic, so they can be discretionary onto their subject, it's fundamental. So I thank you very much for your comment. And I would also add up that apart from the financial sustainability, which is critical, keeping knowledge and universities in the process to the end, instead of they start letting go as soon as you robustify the activity, universities cease to be interested. I think he has to follow up the path until the end because they are feeders to new professionals, and so the question you raised about skills and competences is critical because this is changing very fast. AI, machine learning, HPC will be, hindcast, forecast, DTOs, digital twins. It's changing like this in the next 3, 4 years, 5 years. So what we are trained for now, although I still think that sound science, the physics, the mathematics, the biochemistry, the geochemistry, whatever, are fundamental, you'll be training models to operate forecasting systems and what-if conditions to manage the world digitally. I still think that there's a fundamental role for science on this process. And so universities and knowledge centers have to be engaged.
Thank you very much for that comment. Do you have any other questions from the room? We still have time for one or two. No. Last chance. Okay, I have plenty of questions, so no worries. But I think that we, in any case, we have to start landing or coming into shore, as it were. And since I will be given the task of also giving the highlights from this session in the plenary afterwards, it's of course very useful for me also to try to land this. We have this headline here with treasures and forecasts, so maybe we can use that as a little bit of a point to focus on towards the end. Which lessons have we learned, or are we learning? Painful or joyful lessons throughout Horizon Europe that will be useful for the design of ocean and waters research and innovation in the 10th framework program. In a sense, it seems that we are adding on complexity. Meanwhile, all the weaknesses, a lot of the weaknesses that are being addressed have to do with the complexity of it all. So how do we balance this? I'm going to give you that challenge, Silvia.
It's a very good question. And I don't think, I will give you an answer on how to reduce complexity as such, but I can give you also a kind of positive statement. I really think that if we manage to identify those that are already doing an enormous work and we give them the means to bring forward this work in through their transition agendas, and we use our funding in a smart way to deploy and scale up technologies that can make a difference, this can make a difference.
Thank you. It is a challenge when you work in such a complex system. One way to address it, although it was questioned this morning, is directionality. So you put everything you can together, but you also make choices. There is an answer that can bring into the game the need to change the way we govern the system. So also being a little bit more horizontal, despite sometimes it's quite then hard to be focused. When I mentioned in my presentation the excellent work that the partnership is doing through the Cellul for connecting the national, regional, European and global scale, it is important that we clarify that at first there is a big, at least from some of the partners, and we hope to in a way, share good practices all across Europe. There is a huge effort at country level to coordinate their communities. So also this piece of action is important before going in managing the European complexity, the global complexity, because we need to then deliver products in that global market. I think that a positive impact could happen also at the national level.
Thank you so much. We are running out of time. We have time for 20 seconds and comment from each of you. First, Nuno.
So for the future, of course, on the governance level, align better with national and regional funds definitely is a critical process. Engage other countries apart from Brazil on the sustainable partnerships. I recommend South Africa and some West Africa and Tunisia and so on. The same for the Med, the north of Africa. This is something that we discussed a lot in previous years. Then on substance, we need observations. This is not going to be help made the study. So we need observations, we need technologies, we need to be in the field, and we cannot be all in the field, so we have to have telepresence, IoT, smart cables, all of these new technologies which deal with, of course I'm now focusing more on the ocean. The ocean is vast, we still don't know anything about the oceans, okay? And we need to do a better job, to take data on, keep the open data policies, and really cooperate like we have been doing, better and better, seeing what doesn't work to reach to a better future, for sure.
Yeah, coming a bit back to where I started, I think that we need collaboration and synergies for talent and impact, and that is important.
Okay, I'll use your terms. I think we need to treasure the diversity of the community, because this is an incredibly diverse community with incredible expertise. It's the first thing. We need to treasure the programs that we have, because they are what enables us to do what we do. So whether it's the Blue Economy Partnership or the Mission or Horizon Europe funding or national funding, we need to treasure those. And in terms of forecasts, we do need to find new models of how we, models, in parentheses, about what, or scare quotes, about how we want to work, how we actually want to achieve those goals, to showcase for ourselves as a community, but also to outsiders, what return on investment we bring, why we are valuable, what it is that we contribute to society and the future of this planet.
Thank you very much. Well summed up from our panelists. Thank you so much to everyone, to our brilliant keynote speakers, to our brilliant panelists, and to our brilliant audience for getting this show together. And please join me in giving a warm applause to this. And now it's lunch. Just wait, I'll have a little present for my...
Thank you so much.